Welcome to the Cross Creek On Demand podcast, a podcast for you because God is for you. We all have things we've given up on, but what if God hasn't? This week, we're exploring the resurrection and what it really means. That everything broken, dead, or unfinished can be made right because Jesus lives. So, let's talk about it together. Here's a question. If you could fix one thing in the world, what would it be? Now let's get maybe more personal. If you could fix one thing in your life, what would it be? Maybe a broken relationship, a regret that haunts you, a situation you just feel stuck in. Okay, one more, a little deeper. What have you quietly given up on? Be honest. What have you already decided isn't going to change? We all have those places, dreams that were shattered, losses, hurts that were never healed, opportunities missed, time lost, prayers that have gone unanswered. And we have a world constantly at war, a country that seems as divided as ever, natural disasters and pollution. After a while, we just naturally give up. We lower our expectations, saying, well, this is just how it's always going to be. Let's just get through it and make the best of it. See, we don't give up on life, we settle for less. But something happened 2,000 years ago that completely redefines what's possible. A man claimed to be God, maker of heaven and earth. He said he would die and then come back to life. And then he did. Eyewitnesses saw, touched, talked to, and ate with the risen Jesus. And some of them even wrote down what they experienced, grounding this in real history. And that's important because if the resurrection is just a feel-good story, just a metaphor, then none of this really matters. There's no hope that anything will ever change, and we should just do our best to hunker down and get through life until our turn is over. If there's no resurrection, this is as good as it gets. All of our efforts to improve the world and make people's lives better are really pointless because it's all going to end and we won't care what happens. But if Jesus actually rose from the dead, everything changes. See, Easter isn't just a past miracle, it's the beginning of an unstoppable promise. Jesus' resurrection is a promise that God won't leave anything dead, unfinished, or broken. Now, when he was an old man, Jesus' best friend John was given a vision of the end of the story and what all of history is leading to. And here's what he saw. Revelation 21, 1 through 5. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared, and the sea was also gone. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, look, God's home is now among his people. He will live with them, and they will be his people. God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death, or sorrow, or crying, or pain. All these things are gone forever. And the one sitting on the throne said, look, I am making everything new. And then he said to me, write this down, for what I tell you is trustworthy and true. Now, this vision isn't about us getting a slightly better version of life after we die. It's about God's unbreakable promise for our lives. He's promising to be with us and to make everything new, not repaired, restored. Not just our souls someday, but the restoration of hearts, bodies, communities, and all creation. Everything set right, the way it was always meant to be. The things that seem most permanently broken, God says, I will make them new. But how does that work? How can God actually do that? Well, because the problem isn't just out there, it's in here in us. Sin is destroyed, broken, and separated. Us from God, us from each other, and even us from ourselves. And we can't do anything about it. So, because of his great love for us, God himself entered our fractured world. Jesus, 100% God, 100% human, came to earth, not just to teach, but to rescue. He took on the full weight of our sin and brokenness and died on the cross. But death didn't know what it had done. It couldn't contain life. Like too much air in a balloon, true life shattered death from the inside out. And Jesus rose from the dead just as he said he would. And this isn't just something that happened in the past. Jesus' resurrection is God's pledge and promise that evil, pain, and death will be undone. See, Easter means death is dead. God refuses to leave anything broken, which means that thing you've given up on, God hasn't. You may have declared it dead. God hasn't. And what God did for Jesus, he promises to do for everything. It's a promise and an invitation he extends to every single person. Revelation 21, 6 and 7. And he also said, "It is finished. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To all who are thirsty, I will give freely from the springs of the water of life. All who are victorious will inherit all these blessings, and I will be their God, and they will be my children." The resurrection is the first chapter of God's renewal mission, and you are invited to be part of it. God's restoration starts with forgiving sins and grows into restoring lives, relationships, and all creation. So, let me ask you again, what have you given up on? That relationship, that part of your story, that area of life that feels stuck? Jesus' empty tomb makes us ask the question, do you believe God is going to make that right? Not ignore it, not just help you manage it, but actually restore it. Now, let's be honest, not everything gets fixed right away, right? Some prayers take time, some wounds take time. Some things won't be fully restored in this life. But the resurrection means what God starts, he finishes. And if it's not made right yet, God's not done yet. And this is where it becomes personal. God offers this as a gift to you right now. You don't earn it. You don't fix yourself first. You just receive it, trusting the giver more than your worthiness or effort. But it's not something you just casually agree with either. It's something you decide to respond to. Jesus offers his victory over sin and death to you, and he invites you to trust him, to make him the king of your life. And today you can choose that. You can say, Jesus, I've given up on things. Parts of my life feel dead. But if you defeated death, I want to trust you. I receive your forgiveness. I trust you as my king. Make me new. Because Jesus lives, the healing has already started. And one day he will wipe every tear, end every sorrow, and make everything new. Because Jesus walked out of the grave, nothing stays dead forever. Not your life, not your story, not this world. Imagine that thing you've given up on not being broken anymore. Imagine no tension there, no regret, no, this is just how it is. Imagine the weight you've been carrying, gone. Not managed, not ignored, gone. Imagine walking through your hardest moments with God right there, wiping every tear from your eyes. And imagine a world where forgiveness is real, where things don't stay broken, where what's wrong actually gets made right. That's not wishful thinking. That's where this story is going. Because Jesus lives, the healing has already started. And if it's not made right yet, God's not done yet. Because Jesus rose, the worst thing is never the last thing.